What is going on YouTube? It feels amazing to be back in the garage and actually have some parts to install and do these kind of videos again. I know it's been a while, but I finally have some stuff, and that leads us to today. What we got going on today is we're gonna be changing the exhaust setup on the E92 M3. If I haven't made it obvious in the previous videos, the car is muffler deleted. It's insanely loud, and with where I live here in California, it's just too aggressive for me to be driving the car as much as I wanna drive the car. Sounds okay, I guess. It's a European high revving V8, and so it's hard to make it sound bad, but it's just too aggressive. And so what we got going in it today is a really common mod on these cars called the 2-pipe mod. And essentially all it is, if you're unfamiliar, is where you take the stock muffler section out of one of these cars, you cut the top of it open, and on the inside there's 2 pipes that cross over like this, and on each of the pipes there's a section of it that's corrugated or has holes in it. And the idea is that the exhaust sound kind of runs through those pipes and gets picked up by the, or rather muffled by the baffling that's inside of there. So what you do is you cut open the muffler, you take that baffling out, you cut those corrugated sections out, and then you essentially straight pipe it. And then you throw all the baffling back in, you close up the muffler, and the idea is that it sounds a little louder than stock, but it's not nearly as aggressive as, say, a straight piped exhaust system. And it looks OEM, so ideally this should work in place of the current muffler delete, at least in the meantime, until maybe I can get a valved exhaust system, kind of like my F10. But for now, I'm really excited to get this in because I haven't driven the car a lot, because again, it's just too loud and I'm constantly worried I'm gonna get pulled over and given a ticket for it. So this should be the perfect remedy and allow me to get out and drive the car a little more often. On top of that, I'm really excited to show you guys another cool little thing you could do with the OEM muffler regarding the exhaust tips. If you aren't familiar already, I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But for now, I want to show you guys a quick cold start video of the current muffler delete, just so you kind of have a baseline of what I'm working with. And then we'll get into throwing in this 2-pipe mod. So with that, here we go. Alright, so as you saw, we just took the straight pipe, or rather the muffler delete section, out of the car. It was really easy. It wasn't really held in there by all the same brackets and whatnot that the OEM muffler is typically held in with, so I got it out pretty quick and easy. But before we go and toss this in the car, I did quickly want to talk about these exhaust tips. I mentioned earlier in the video that there's a cool thing you could do with them to kind of make them more OEM plus, and so let me show you that and then we'll get to tossing it in the car. So let me turn the camera around. Now this side right here is the OEM muffler tip. I put kind of the insert back in. It'll make sense in a second, but if you look, it looks a lot more like small in diameter compared to this side, and this is still the OEM tip. And so what you could do to achieve this, if you weren't familiar, all of these exhaust tips, all 4 of these are held on by 4 rivets. There's 2 on top and 2 underneath, and all you got to do is drill those rivets out, and then you can take this off. It's like a sleeve. You could just take it off of the muffler. And then what I did, and what other people have done, I don't know if you can see this here, but there's a cut here. You just cut this first layer off, and then what happens is this inner part just comes out. And then what you're left with is a wider looking opening than when you had this in the car, because this, obviously, because it's double layered, and you can kind of see too, like, see how big that lip is? It's probably like 1/4 of an inch. So it makes these exhaust tips look 1/4 of an inch smaller than they actually are when you only have the outer layer showing. So I thought this was a really cool mod. I considered not doing it just because I wanted to get this on the car, but I figured it was worthwhile. You can't really do this, like drill these rivets out with the whole thing in the car. So to me, it was worth doing. It's really simple once you get them off. Just get the right tool. I don't suggest trying to cut these by hand, but if you get just like a chop saw, you can cut these pretty much perfect. And then obviously, you know, toss them back on, buy some rivets and just rivet them back onto the muffler. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that came out. And I think it's gonna look a lot better once it's in the car, especially compared to the setup that was on the car when I bought it, because those exhaust tips were not even and they looked not as big as these. So I think these are gonna look a lot more aggressive and a lot more OEM plus. So I'm really stoked and excited to get this in the car finally. This has been, I picked this up probably like a month ago, and between, you know, having the exhaust shop have to pretty much straight pipe this and weld it back together, and now obviously getting all the parts, I bought all new exhaust hangers and stuff down there, but I'm really excited. So enough talking. I'm gonna go ahead and mount everything that I need to mount, like the exhaust hangers and such, and then we're gonna get this tossed in the car. So here we go. All right, it's officially day 2. I finished up pretty late last night, and I wanted to be sure I got some cool driving clips so I could show you guys what the car sounds like actually under load and not just like cold start and revs here in my driveway. But I'm really stoked with the way it came out. I think it looks a lot better, and personally, just for where I live, I think it sounds a lot better too. It's not nearly as aggressive. On cold start, it sounds pretty much stock, and then obviously when you get into it, I did take it for a test drive quickly last night, and it still sounds really rowdy, which is cool. So I'm really stoked. It's not a new mod by any means. I'm not the first person to do it. There's tons and tons of videos about the 2-pipe mod. If you're not familiar, there's a lot of them out there, but this is my version of it with the cut OEM tips too. I think it's the perfect OEM plus setup, and not only that, but this setup fits a lot better against the rear bumper than my last setup did. So I'm excited to eventually one day get a diffuser down there. I think it'll make the rear end look really aggressive, especially now with the sort of blast pipe setup I did, having cut the inner walls out of the muffler tips. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If for some reason at all you want to see what the car sounded like before this, if you want to hear what this car sounded like with a muffler delete, I'll link the 2 videos I've done with that setup down below in the description. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for checking it out. Peace.